Oh, Donald Trump is going to get a jury of his peers in New York if his peers consist of MSM-consuming brain-dead morons who want him lynched. Viva Frei, former Montreal litigator turned current Florida rumbler, and I'm back in my office for a vlog because if you're not following what's going on in New York, I don't know what you're doing, but if you're not following it, I'm going to catch you up real good. Donald Trump is now the first president in American history to be criminally prosecuted and go to criminal trial. This trial has started in the wonderful, corrupt state of New York.
Everybody leave New York, take your stuff, and get the hell out.
It's in the state of New York, brought to you by Soros-funded Alvin Bragg, with the ever-corrupt Judge Juan Marchand, whose daughter is working for a PR firm that represents Adam Schiff that is raising money off of this very prosecution. But if you haven't heard much about this, it might be because the defendant, Donald John Trump, has been gagged by the very judge and prohibited from talking about the judge's family corruption as relates to this case and beyond. Not only has Donald Trump been gagged, but now he has been brought up on contempt charges where he needs to present himself before this very Judge Juan Marchand on April 24 to answer whether or not he is in contempt because of, in particular, him tweeting out the other day, look what I found recently. And it's a signed letter from Stormy Daniels confirming that they never had a relationship, that she had repeated this multiple times in the past on 5 occasions. They never had a relationship. She never lied about them having a relationship because they never had one. And now Donald Trump, in tweeting that out, is being brought up on contempt charges. I talked about that during my last vlog. Go check it out. But what's new now?
Jury selection.
Jury selection is underway, and if you can believe it, there have not even been 2 full days of jury selection. Apparently, they've gotten down to 6 jury members that are going to be on this 18-jury panel. There's 12 and then 6 alternates. They've already gotten down to 6 jury members to sit for this trial. And if you had any questions, any concerns as to whether or not Donald Trump is going to be tried by a jury of his peers, well, I guarantee you, he will be tried by a jury of his peers if his peers consist of MSM gobbling, brain-dead morons that want to see him lynched. And if you think I'm being hyperbolic, exaggerating, taking things out of context, just wait until I show you this clip of an interview an excused juror gave after being excused from jury because she had scheduling conflicts. Wait until you see what this jury member, this prospective jury member, she could have been on the jury and she wanted to be on the jury. Just wait until you hear what she had to say about what she thinks of Donald Trump. But don't worry, she could have remained objective, but we're going to get there in a second. Right now, we're going to start with a truth post from Donald Trump that some people are making fun of him for. Donald John Trump, at Real Donald Trump. I thought strikes were supposed to be, quote, unlimited, end quote, when we were picking our jury, question mark. I was then told we only had 10, not nearly enough when we were purposely given the 2nd worst venue in the country. Don't worry, we have the 1st worst also, as the witch hunt continues, election interference in all caps, exclamation point. Now, what Trump is referring to here is that in jury selection, both sides have a certain number of peremptory strikes. They can just strike anyone from the jury pool for no reason whatsoever if they don't like their tie, but they don't have an infinite amount of them. They only have a limited amount, and in New York, from what I understand, obviously, both sides only have 10 peremptory strikes, and Trump, in this Truth Social post, if we take him at his word for it, thought that they had unlimited strikes. Now, I think this is either a silly mistake, truthed out in haste, or it's a deliberate mistake. Knowing what the media is going to do, they're going to amplify that message in order to make fun of Trump, not understanding or not fully appreciating that they are, in fact, indirectly amplifying the underlying message that Trump wants to get out there, and that is that he is never going to get a fair trial in New York. Kyle Cheney. Trump's complaint about strikes is odd for multiple reasons. 1, it would make no sense for strikes to be unlimited in any criminal case. 2, his lawyers have known there would be 10 strikes for months. To which I quote tweeted as follows. This is an example of either a fortuitous mistake or a strategic, quote, mistake, end quote. Unlimited strikes would, in fact, make no sense. Make a, quote, mistake, end quote, knowing that your ideological adversaries will pounce in an attempt to discredit and thus amplify the mistake while also amplifying the most important part, the undeniable political bias of any jury pool in New York. Thank you for playing and assisting in putting on blast the fact that Trump will never get a fair trial in New York, at Kyle D. Cheney. Unclear if he has any relation to Liz Cheney, the bipartisan member of the January 6th Kangaroo Court Committee that sought to get Trump at all costs. Unclear, but based on their politics, they might be related. And then I included a video and said, here is an interview given by a dismissed juror that further evidences Trump's assertion. If you haven't seen this video clip, I posted it in a separate tweet a bit earlier. If you haven't seen this video clip, it's going to blow your freaking mind. This was a juror who was dismissed for scheduling reasons. She gave something like a 10-minute interview after she was dismissed. I could not believe the things she said. I'm asking myself whether or not she basically admitted to lying in her jury questionnaire when she answered one of the questions like this. Wait until you see this video clip.
Can you share your opinion of the former president and why you felt that you could be unbiased?
I'm not a fan. I During COVID-19, I lived with someone who was immunocompromised, and I think his handling of COVID-19 was abysmal. I have a sister who is adopted from China, and the comments he made about China when he was running for president made her very anxious, and therefore made me angry. There are policies he has supported that regard women and reproductive health that I do not agree with. And I think all of that needs to be addressed.
I'm going to break down the absolute absurdity, the absolute partisan insanity of the answer that dismissed juror just gave. But before that, I want to highlight another portion of this interview. When asked if she could be objective, what her answer was, and here's that clip from earlier in this interview.
Did you say you could be unbiased, though?
I did. And I think I was telling the other folks over there a minute ago, but I think it's very difficult for anyone really in this country to not come to this with prior opinions. I think we all have prior opinions about the defendant, unless you've been like living in a cardboard box since 2014. But personally, the right to a fair trial in this country is more important to me than anything this particular defendant has done or any feelings about him that I personally have. And then I think in order to uphold that, I was willing to put everything aside as much as I could.
The right to a fair trial, according to this dismissed juror, is more important than anything this defendant may have done. And then we go back to what she said earlier, which was actually later in this interview, in which she says basically Trump is a racist.
I have a sister who is adopted from China, and the comments he made about China when he was running for president made her very anxious, and therefore made me angry.
Trump is a misogynist.
Policies he has supported that regard women and reproductive health that I do not agree with.
Trump endangered the well-being of her and her family, and that needs to be addressed.
I lived with someone who was immunocompromised, and I think his handling of COVID-19 was abysmal. All of that needs to be addressed.
And don't worry, she is totally able to sit on that jury and be totally objective and unbiased. A jury of his peers.
My arse.
This woman is not an anomaly of the jury pool. This jury pool is fundamentally tainted. There is not a snowball's chance in summer or a snowball's chance in New York that Trump can get a fair trial. In New York, this woman perfectly exemplifies why. This is someone who answered that she could be fair and objective and actually went through and answered the questions. And not only did she say I could be fair and objective, but nonetheless admit this to some journalists outside, and it didn't require too much prompting in any event. Not only did she say this after saying she could be fair and objective, if you wait until the end of the interview, after saying that she was dismissed for scheduling conflicts because she works in IT and it would be very hard for her to coordinate with other people if she could only do it after 4:30, after admitting that she thinks Trump is a racist, a misogynist who endangered her friends and family, she then goes on to say that nonetheless, she tried to accommodate in order to be on that jury pool.
I looked at him after I had finished giving my final answer, which was the one that I was dismissed for, which I work in cybersecurity. Scheduling wise, it's very difficult for me to do my job if I'm here for 6 weeks because it's a lot of coordinating other people, and I can't really do that from only 4:30 in the afternoon onwards. I said I'm willing to work around it if you need me. I want to be honest. So after I answered that question and the judge said you're excused, I glanced over at him again and made eye contact with him and have no idea what he thought at that moment, and then I got down and left.
Despite how she truly felt about Donald Trump, she would have accommodated if they needed her. She would have been glad to sit on that jury because she wants to convict Trump, as does pretty much, statistically speaking, everyone else on that jury pool that is going to be selected. There is no question Trump is not going to get a fair trial here. Everybody knows it. He's already been convicted. We are witnessing the modern day lynch mob in real time. Just get a jury and we will convict. I don't even think the jury needs to understand what the charges are. They are going to convict. It's a foregone conclusion. The greatest thing is that everyone's going to see it. it in real time. We are witnessing the downfall of the American prosecutorial system, the American judicial system. It is on blast for the entire world to see. It will burn down and be reduced to something of a form of ashes, at least in the state of New York. Hopefully the higher courts will rectify the situation. Hopefully the Supreme Court will get involved sooner than later and prevent irreparable harm from occurring. But one thing is patently clear. Get the hell out of New York. Don't do business in New York. If they decide they don't like you, if they decide you are politically or socially disfavored for whatever the reason, they will find a useful idiot of a corrupt DA to bring bogus charges against you. They will find a useful idiot of a corrupt judge to sit over the trial. They will find a jury of your peers to lynch you if they don't like you. And right now, this entire process is on blast for the world to see, and this is going to be a shame on New York. There is no jury selection today as at the time of shooting this vlog. They're taking a day off. It goes back to jury selection tomorrow, Thursday. As at the time of shooting this vlog, it should go on to Friday. We might have a full jury by Monday or early of next week. It's amazing. We're going to get a full jury, and this bogus case is going to go to trial for 6 weeks. It is scheduled for 6 weeks in an election season in which the leading candidate has been gagged by this corrupt Juan Marchand. You all know what I think about this. This is lawfare election interference. It is arguably criminal election interference being carried out by D.A. Bragg and that judge Juan Marchand. But we'll see where this goes. Most importantly, if you like what I do, you know what to do. Like, share, subscribe, hit the notification bell, drop a comment in the comment section below, share my channel. YouTube has been engaging in some serious chicanery with my channel, so be sure to like. Make sure that you are subscribed, because a lot of people who have been subscribed have been telling me they have been unsubscribed. I'm sure it's just a magical accident. Regardless, most importantly, get out there, exercise, eat healthy, sunlight, talk to people in real life, and now you know your vlog. Peace out, peeps. Booyah!
Well, thank you for having me on the show again. I had one simple statement. How do you know when Donald Trump is lying? When his lips are moving. And that has been played out time and time again. Women don't trust him. You're going to say something in March, you support a national ban. In April, the polls don't look so good, so now you're backing off, but all of a sudden you're going to lose the evangelicals, and you're going to keep going back and forth up until Election Day. And one thing, Donald Trump has been indicted all over this country, including right here in the state of New York. He just indicted himself in the eyes of women all over America, and they are going to pay back what he has done to them, destroying their lives, their freedom, that sense of security that you have control over your own body. So the gig is up, Donald Trump. You just went too far, and no one believes you.